Hello everyone, welcome back to the Natural Fails channel. I know it's been a little while, but going to be honest, I've been swamped at work and have not had the drive to make a video in a while, but thanks to recent announcements made by Paizo in regards to upcoming products, given during their live stream, sort of building anticipation for us to learn which of the 20 core gods will die in the upcoming book, War of the Immortals. I'm not going to give spoilers onto that lore stuff, but let me tell you, it is crazy. But something very small that was talked about in that stream and has been brought up in some material product descriptions that got me very, very excited about the future of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So today, I am very excited to talk to you about one of Pathfinder's most underused features, the class archetype. So before we can really dig into the class archetype, it's important to realize what a archetype is. An archetype is essentially a mini class that you can multi-class into by giving up one of your class feats for it, which you gain at, if you're a martial, at level 1 in every even level, or if you're a spellcaster, at every even level. These are usually how you customize your character. So if you forego some of your class identity or some of those class feats, you can instead choose from these mini classes and start taking feats from them. This essentially broadens your feat pool and allow you to have more diverse characters. In fact, one of the most popular variants of Pathfinder 2nd Edition to play is something called the free archetype variant, which allows players to always be able to take an extra archetype feat at every even level along with a class feat, making characters very unique and very unlikely you're ever going to play a character that's going to be exactly the same as anything you've touched before or anyone else at your table has ever touched before. However, there is a step beyond this. There is a type of archetype that does not only change your class feats and broaden that pool, but in fact, make it so that your class features get altered or rewritten, meaning that these archetypes are usually gated behind requiring needing to be a certain class or have a certain type of class feature instead of being focused on stat based like normal archetypes. These are going to be our class archetypes. Now, what makes these class archetypes so fascinating from a design perspective is this idea that there are many different ideas and play styles that could be accomplished by the base classes, but they're just slightly off. There's maybe some class feature that prevents it, or maybe some sort of minor change that could go to really enhance that play style or that theme that the class just isn't quite hitting, but is almost there. That's what these class archetypes really excel in, allowing these themes and these play styles to have a chance to make it into a book by one, lowering the page count so that they can more easily fit into a book, and by slightly altering the base class in a way that is not intrusive to people who enjoyed that class for whatever reason, but to allow those themes and those play styles to come into the game naturally without breaking anything. With how awesome this idea is, it will be a shock to most people to learn that there are currently only 5 class archetypes in the game at the moment. We actually did not even get a class archetype until Secrets of Magic, one of the later supplemental materials. And this is surprising because the class archetype was something that was in the core rulebook. There just was no examples of a class archetype in it. A example of Paizo going out of their way to future-proof their game, knowing at one point they will want to use class archetypes, but at launch, just not having the opportunity, not really having a lot of space to explore that idea yet. Until now, During that live stream where we learned which of the 20 gods were going to die, we learned that there are going to be almost doubling the amount of class archetypes that are going to be in the game. And I am so excited. But to sort of amp ourselves up, to get us ready for this new wave of support for a very, unfortunately, underutilized feature in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I thought it would be a good idea to preserve what it was like to use a class archetype before we get this massive bonus. So by the time October of 2024 comes out, this will be an outdated video, but I think it's going to be important for sort of time capsuling where the game was at a certain point. So to do that, we're going to quickly go over the class archetypes that are available at this moment on April 2024. Before we jump into these, I do want to make it clear this is not going to be all-encompassing. We're not going to be talking about details. We're not going to be talking about feats. We're not going to be talking necessarily about how they actually perform. I'm just going to give you an idea of what they're like, what we have to play with, and maybe if you are one of the people who are new to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you'll get to maybe learn about something you didn't know existed and maybe something you might want to try out at your own table. Or if you're a veteran, maybe just going over these options that you may have forgotten about. To be completely honest, I forget about these class archetypes all the time. And I have been playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition pretty much ever since it came out. So I am really pumped for this underutilized Pathfinder 2nd Edition mechanic to make its comeback. All right, without further ado, let's go over the 5 class archetypes that are out as of April 2024. So as we go into this, we are going to look at how these were released chronologically. So first off, that means we are going to be looking at the Secrets of Magic class archetypes. There's 3 in total. We're going to be doing these alphabetical order. The first one is going to be the Flexible Spellcaster. The Flexible Spellcaster is essentially that age-old question, hey, DM, I really don't like the way that 2nd edition prepared spellcasting works. Can I please just play 5th edition spellcasting somehow? And the DM's response will be, sure, we got you covered. Let's go ahead and open up that Flexible Spellcaster. Yes, you heard that right. Flexible spellcasting is essentially just 5th edition prepared spellcasting. It is super understandable for people who have played that system. And to sort of give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, I will go ahead and read what the entry says in the class archetype. You have learned how to cast spells flexibly, blending the best elements of spontaneous and prepared spellcasting at the cost of casting fewer spell slots per day. What this equates to is that at the beginning of the day, you will have a short list of spells that you can pick from, and you will just be able to cast them. That means you don't have to pick which spells are in which slots. You don't have to worry about anything of that kind of nature. You basically get to play 5th edition spellcasting, but in 2nd edition Pathfinder. The downside to this, knowing that this is going to be a big balancing issue, is that unfortunately this is limited to first classes that prepare spells. That means spontaneous spellcasters do not get to take this flexible spellcaster thing. And the next one is, we'll have it on screen here. Yeah, you don't get that many spells. Yeah, unfortunately, your spell slots are cut down. Your average baseline is that you should be getting 3 spell slots per level, but that's just not the case. You will only be able to have 2 spell slots of each spell level. However, because your collection grows along with you and you get to handpick which spells and that flexibility, it could turn out that while you're playing a normal prepared spellcaster, you may not use all your spell slots. And especially at higher level, it's exceedingly common to not use every single spell slot in one day. It just ain't happening, man, unless you're having a very, very long day. But with this 2 spell slot and always being able to have and pick which spell from your collection you want to use, you will likely use all of your spells because you will always have the right spell for the right situation, and you don't have to worry about running out of, oh, I did not prepare that third heal spell I really should have prepared. I just have it in my collection. I can cast it out of any of my spell slots. Again, very cool, very interesting, and especially for those of us who came from D&D 5th edition, if you're sort of scared to put your toes into that spell casting, especially prepared spell casting, this is a great way to get into prepared 2nd edition spell casting. The next archetype that we are going to talk about, or class archetype, is the Runelord, and it is one of the 2 examples of a class archetype that can only be taken by a specific class, in this case a wizard. The issue with the Runelord is that this is a 1st edition character option that essentially allows you to soup up one type of magical school in exchange for not being able to cast other schools of magics, depending on which one you picked. So, for example, if you were to pick something like Abjuration, you would no longer be able to cast Evocation or Necromancy skill or spells. Now, I'm sure any of you who are familiar with the Pathfinder 2nd Edition remaster know that they have removed spell schools. That is no longer a thing in the game, meaning that this whole class, unfortunately, doesn't work. At least not if you're using remastered material. You're going to have to work with your dungeon master. It's likely that this is going to receive some sort of errata way down the line, but we have not seen it yet. We're just going to have to hope that this is something that will come eventually. But don't worry, you're not missing out too much. The biggest benefit to the Runelord is that they were a wizard that would be able to be better at using focus spells, and the quality of the focus spells were already suspect. But again, not going to get into that. If you want to look into the Runelord yourself, I recommend it. But again, unfortunately, it's no longer remaster compatible, which is very upsetting. And finally, our last secret of magic class archetype, and that is the Wellspring Mage. This is basically your flexible spellcaster for your spontaneous spellcasters, but instead of being a change to being able to prepare your spell slots and being this weird 5th edition carryover, I guess, not even carryover, they're not really in the same genre, but in the zeitgeist, if you would, a carryover from that game. The Wellspring Mage is essentially the wild magic sorcerer. Basically, whenever there's a stressful moment that comes up or at the start of combat, you attempt a DC 6 flat check. When you critically succeed this check, so that means on a 16 or higher, you will be able to temporarily recover an expended spell slot of any level of your choice. This spell slot lasts for 1 minute, and if you don't use it by then, you experience an immediate Wellspring Surge. We'll talk about that in a second. On a success, it's the same as a critical success, except that you randomly determine the level of a spell slot from among your top 3 spell levels, or all of your spell levels if you have lower than 3. The slot lasts for 3 rounds instead of 1 minute. So basically, you don't get to pick. But at the very least, it's going to be one of your top 3. I'm assuming you're going to want to roll a d6 or something to deal with that. But unfortunately, if you fail, you generate a Wellspring Surge with a spell level chosen randomly among your top 3 levels of spell slots, or all of your levels if you have lower than 3. You can only regain a temporary spell slot no more than twice a day. So you only get that benefit twice a day. However, if you get a Wellspring Surge, you fail that check, something weird happens. Again, this is going to be random effects. You're going to roll that d20, and I'm going to have Jax, my ever faithful editor, put that table up. So if you want to pause the screen right now and sort of look at some of the zany stuff that can happen, but you will be able to have some weird magic stuff happen. Again, just like a wild magic sorcerer. And I'm sure if you really want to go crazy, I bet you can find a D100 table to go absolutely bananas with this one. There's also several feats that go along with this to sort of lean into that play style. Again, this one is going to be for those parties who don't mind a little bit of chaos. And again, completely fun if you want to go with it. Just something to keep in mind is that just like the last one, you do reduce your number of spell slots. So just like the flexible spellcaster, unfortunately, you're going to be rocking one less spell slot or one less spell slot per spell rank. And including your cantrips, which you do reduce by one as well. However, this does not impact a sorcerer very much since they already have the highest spell slot total, meaning that they are brought down to the average 3 per spell rank, meaning that sorcerers are going to love this archetype if you really don't need that 4th spell slot. Our next class archetype is the Spellshot. This is from the Guns and Gears book and is again our second class specific class archetype. And this is going to be the Way of the Spellshot. So at level 1, you gain the benefits of the Way of the Spellshot, and basically all this does is that you can add a little bit of magic to your guns. It's not a whole lot. It ends up being that you can, every time you shoot, you can add an extra damage of some certain energy types, and you can be able to better hit weaknesses. I have not taken a great look at Spellshot or play tested it or done anything to check it out, especially when compared to other gunslinger ways. So I can't say whether or not this performs up to the level of the other ones. From what I understand, it underperforms when compared to the other ways of the gunslinger, which is a shame, but it sort of makes sense. A lot of its abilities is not crazy. Adding one damage of an energy type to your attack is not exciting. And unfortunately, I do think that hampers quite a bit. It just doesn't explode the way that you want. You almost sort of wish that the spell shot was some sort of basically a magus for the guns slinger, but unfortunately, that is not what the spell shot is. Now, I know that many of you were raging, saying that I missed one of the Secrets of Magic class archetypes. Well, I saved it for us covering Rage of Elements because the Elementalist, the other class archetype that did originally appear in Secrets of Magic, was reprinted and updated to fit the new lore changes that were brought in from Rage of Elements, primarily the inclusion of wood and metal being elements that the Elementalist, a spellcaster that specializes in casting elemental spells, would care about. So, the Elementalist can only be taken by arcane or primal spellcasters, and it gives you an entire new spell list. If you have ever gone to Archives of Nethys and looked at the spell list, you will notice that there is a 5th spell list, and that is the Elementalist spell list. This is for this class archetype, which allows you to narrow down your list of spells down to those that have to do with one of these 6 elements, being fire, air, water, earth, wood, or metal. This basically gives you sort of a Avatar Avatar the Last Airbender, sort of I am the master of all the elements. You also get access to feats that can soup up some of your elemental things, and you can also sort of mix and match what elements that you want to specialize in. It also gives you sort of some changes to do depending on which class you are, as if you are a druid or if you're a wizard, how being an elementalist will look different for those classes and along with the sorcerer. So again, the elementalist is a great way to inject your character with some of that elemental magic if you just want to go with that elemental magic theme. again, highly recommended, especially since the Rage of the Elements really came on through, added a bunch of spells for the Elementalist, and really cleaned up the class archetype. So with that, we are done with the 5 class archetypes that are in the game. But like I said, we are going to be expecting to see a whole bunch more added to the game here with War of the Immortals that is coming out in October. And I, for one, am so excited. 2 new classes and a whole bunch of class archetypes. I'm super excited. And just to get you all excited, the 3 that I remember off the top of my head hearing about, we are going to get a cleric class archetype, which sacrifices some spell casting features for more martial capabilities, called the Battle Harbinger. Super excited to see what that is. That basically seems like the War Priest taken to the next level. The next one is going to be the Avenger, which is this I assume a rogue archetype that's probably going to be some sort of divine rogue, which sounds so sick. Probably going to be that divine assassin archetype. Super pumped for that. And then one of the most requested Pathfinder first edition classes is going to be making it in as a class archetype, and that is going to be the Blood Rager, the barbarian sorcerer mix. Basically, it is what a magus is to fighters and wizards, except for barbarians and sorcerers. Those are just some of the ones that are coming out. I think there were other ones that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I am so pumped to see more from these things. And the fact that it seems like Paizo is really looking to jump into this pool of class archetypes instead of just focusing on, oh, we are going to be doing just making new classes. And one of my longest critiques that I don't know if has ever come up on this channel is that I feel like Paizo has a little bit too much with, let's add more classes. I want them to really deepen some of the classes that exist in the game that have not gotten as much love. Basically anything that isn't one of the core 12 in the advanced player guides. I want more features for my Magus. I want more features for my Summoner. I want more features for my Gunslinger and my Inventor. You know, I really want to see these classes that came out post advanced player guide get some well-deserved love. And I know I'm very excited because I heard there's going to be some more subclasses for the Magus and the Tianja lore book. So you know I'm going to be all over that stuff since Magus is one of my favorite classes. Enough gushing about the Pathfinder 2nd Edition release schedule for 2024. Again, I am planning to cover a lot of these new books that are coming out. I think I think that Roar of the Wild is going to be coming out very soon, so I will be checking that out. We'll probably do another ranking video. I'll get my editor on here and we'll talk about what ancestries we're the most excited about, because I have opinions. I don't know if they'll be well received, but I have opinions and I want to talk about that. And we will be planning on doing a little review of the new classes that are going to be coming out, that are going to be play tested. So again, looking forward to that. If you are interested in that, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, sticking around, and seeing those videos, because man, I'm excited to make them, and I'm excited to try to get back onto the ball of this now that work is starting to wind down a little bit for me. But we'll have to see. I can't make any promises, but I'm really feeling energized again. But with that, thank you all for coming. Hopefully I'll see you next time. If not, have a wonderful day. If I do see you again, well, I'll see you when I see you. All right. Y'all have a wonderful day.